Answer my question. Do you eat almonds or drink almond milk?
30 million people in Pakistan.
Just answer. Piers Morgan responds to Big Ben vegan protester by eating Big Mac. I don't know a lot about Piers Morgan. Everything I've seen anti-vegan stuff like this. I normally wouldn't be interested in something like this because it sounds like someone who's not really interested in having a conversation, but is more interested in views, right? And being inflammatory so that people click. But I am interested in how the activist responds because I saw one thumbnail from some other YouTuber that described her, I think, as extreme. So I want to see if that's true. Maybe there's more to this than just someone being really disrespectful and eating dead animals in front of someone who thinks it's wrong.
Well, hungry vegans targeted Big Ben today, spraying white paint outside the Houses of Parliament ahead of Liz Truss's first Prime Minister's questions. The Animal Rebellion protest group says the white paint symbolises milk and was intended to represent the destruction of the dairy industry. It's the fourth day of action from the group, who've also cleared milk from the shelves of supermarkets in 4 different cities.
Cleared milk? So what? They're buying the milk? Don't do that, please. You're just supporting the industry. It's like buying abused animals from a pet shop or buying, abused hamsters and birds and whatnot from Petco. Ultimately, you're just supporting Petco. But these animal rights activists, I guess the main thing he's talking about is them spraying white paint everywhere as a way to disrupt society and as a way to bring attention to the harms of the dairy industry. And so who he's talking to is a spokesperson for that group, Animal Rebellion.
Why would chucking paint all over Big Ben persuade someone like me to give up meat?
Yeah, so as you and your viewers probably know, we're in a climate and ecological emergency at the moment. And so what we're doing is we're asking the government to support farmers and fishing communities in a transition to a plant-based food system, because we know that animal agriculture is a leading cause of the climate crisis. And so if we transition to a plant-based food system, we can free up vast amount of land in the UK.
Yes, freeing up land, that's true, but it's not the top contributor. I don't know why there are still some vegans saying this. It's just really, really, really important, particularly if you're going to disrupt society in the way that they're doing. It's really important that you have your facts straight.
That's all fine. That wasn't my question. My question is, why does chucking paint over Big Ben, why does desecrating Trafalgar Square with red dye, chucking milk around Harrods, destroying supermarket shelves and so on, how does that persuade me, who already likes eating meat?
Because we've been trying to talk about these things now for a very long time. And so we're at a point where we need to escalate protest so we can gain more media attention on the subject. And
I don't know anyone you persuade. I haven't heard anyone go, you know what, I was a meat eater and I saw Big Ben being desecrated, this great monument of this country, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I'm going to go and give up meat and start eating gruel.
Gruel, it's either meat or gruel. Yeah, clearly we know where he stands on this. He's going to portray veganism as disgusting as possible, as unappetizing as possible. But number one, just because he hasn't heard anyone say that it was convincing doesn't mean that it was. It's very important when it comes to virtually anything in life, but I think particularly protesting, it's very important that protesting is tested and we try to find the most effective way to protest. And so he's right to ask, who is this influencing? How is this helping me, a meat eater, quit eating meat or getting me to eat less meat? He's right to ask that question, but then to just say, well, anecdotally, I don't know anyone that's convinced. Who cares? But it is very important that we study these types of things. It's why I like groups like Faunalytics that put a lot of work, a lot of energy and effort into studying protesting and studying the types of questions we ask people, how we present information to people. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we influence people, whether that's going fully vegan or just reducing their animal product consumption. We want a positive result. We don't want people to, at best, just not care, or at worst, see us as the enemy, see us as extreme, see our ideals as unachievable or even wrong. And I fear vandalizing, which is what they're doing. That's what people see first and foremost, is that you're doing something wrong, you're doing something illegal. They might not be hearing the message. But I can appreciate her sentiment that we've been doing this for a long time and it doesn't seem to be working, is essentially what she said. So we need to escalate things to get people's attention. Maybe that's true, but again, I think you would need the evidence to back that up. And a lot of these groups like Direct Action Everywhere do not have the evidence to back up this style of activism, these tactics.
I think the purpose of protest is not necessarily to win over people. It's to bring
To annoy us?
to bring these important conversations to the table.
But why are you bringing the conversations to the table? You're bringing them to the table to ultimately influence people, to ultimately get them to change their minds. If you are starting the conversation in an aggressive way that gets people immediately on the defensive and they don't want to listen, maybe that's not super effective, is what I would be saying if I were Piers Morgan. But clearly his interest, again, is not in having a conversation.
Yeah, but we know the conversation. You're a vegan, right? I'm a meat eater. Why can't we just both live happily in each other's orbit? Why can't you let me just get on with eating meat and you eat your gruel and we'll all go home happy?
That's the end of the conversation for him. It's just you're a vegan and I'm a meat eater, and they're the same thing. They're just dietary choices. For some people who just eat a plant-based diet, they eat a vegan diet, but they don't care about the ethics, then yeah, that's probably true. But I would imagine someone like her, that's not what it's about. It's about the environment, and I would assume animal welfare as well. It is an ethical position. For someone like me, I don't care really about the health aspects of veganism. I care about animal welfare. I care about the environment. I care about other aspects that eating animals can have on humans, like zoonotic diseases. That's why we don't just say, oh, well, you eat meat. Yeah, you do you. No. Again, I would question whether her tactics are effective, but at the end of the day, this is an ethical issue. That's what we're fighting for, not just dietary preference. And I think at this point he should know this. Again, spoken so much about veganism and interviewing vegans, he should at least know that little bit. And the fact that he doesn't, or is pretending not to, I don't know, like, who would watch this? I just, like, why would you watch someone like this who is just not interested at all in learning from others or just in talking to people? He just clearly wants to talk over her and make her look stupid.
And we know having a strictly vegan diet is bad for you as well.
Well, that's not true.
A lot of science says it's bad for you.
A lot of science says it's bad for you. There it is. That was like my, not Tony Danza. What's his name? Mary Poppins? The over-the-top British accent. A lot of science says it's bad for you. Isn't that nice? You can just say things like that. A lot of science says it's bad for you. Anyway, moving on. No, a lot of science does not say it is bad for you. There are certain nutrients that are more important for vegans to focus on. Things like B12. We don't get that from our foods unless it's fortified, so we need to take an additional supplement. Possibly iron and zinc as well. It's why you want to focus on eating legumes, making them a very important part of your daily diet. But the consensus is that virtually anyone, even infants, can eat a vegan diet successfully. Like virtually any diet, even an omnivorous diet, you just have to do it correctly. I mean, you can eat animal products and still be very unhealthy, clearly. And if you still aren't convinced, if you don't think a vegan diet is healthy, okay, just eat less animal products. Do you think you need to eat a lot of animal products in order to be healthy? I don't know what science you're looking at. You're very wrong. But I think most of the people who say vegan isn't healthy, they're not carnivore, or even paleo or keto. They don't believe that lots of meat is required in order to be healthy. So just eat less meat. You can still eat meat. You can still eat all the animal products you like, but just eat less of them. That's still making a difference for animals and for the planet. And if you say, well, no, well, then it's not really about health, is it? You don't really care. You're not really interested in veganism being healthy or not being healthy. So why even bring it up?
What do you eat?
I eat...
do you eat almonds? Do you drink almond milk? Eat almonds?
I think you're digressing from
I'm just asking a question.
the big issue.
I'm just curious what you eat. Do you eat almonds?
I'm here to talk about the climate crisis.
Answer my question. Do you eat almonds or drink almond milk?
30 million people in Pakistan.
Just answer. So she's right. He is doing the whataboutism, which, to be clear, can be fine. It can be fine to ask questions about literally anything, and it can be fine to say, well, what about this? The issue is his intention. His intention is to derail the conversation and is to make her look like a hypocrite, to say, well, you're telling us not to eat meat, but you're eating these foods that are actually super harmful. What a hypocrite you are. You don't really care about the environment. What I would have said or tried to say, I mean, I don't think he would let her continue to speak for longer than 2 seconds. I would say, yes, I consume almonds. I consume almond milk. Well, I don't, but I do consume almonds. And for those who do consume almond milk, they are making a better choice than consuming cow's milk. The evidence is clear. You can look at ourworldindata.org, which is not a vegan organization. Research and data to make progress against the world's largest problems. They make it very, very clear that all of the plant milks, including almond milk, are far and away less destructive than cow's milk. nuts are far and away less destructive than virtually all animal products. Again, that doesn't mean we can't ask questions about plant foods and compare plant foods. I wouldn't be surprised if he brings up something like avocado. That's fine. You can bring up those things. You can talk about the issues with those foods. Is it ethical to buy avocados knowing that you are potentially supporting these terrorists in Mexico? I think we can ask, are there vegan plant foods that are really destructive and that maybe we should avoid? I think that palm oil is one that maybe we should. It's one that I choose to avoid, even though it is a plant food. Tomatoes are actually fairly high up on the list, if you can believe it. I assume because a lot of them are hothouse grown, so a lot of water and energy usage there. So we can certainly talk about that. And maybe someone has been vegan for a long time and wants to optimize their diet by cutting back on tomatoes or something. That's totally cool. But again, that's not what he's doing. And you don't start by cutting back on tomatoes. Tomatoes are not the issue, unless you're eating like pounds of tomatoes a day, which I mean, I actually did back in my fruitarian days. I was craving tomatoes. It might have been an iron deficiency. I've seen a couple case reports from people with iron deficiency craving tomatoes. It could just have been a savory craving because I was eating almost exclusively sweet fruits. So I just wanted something at least kind of sort of salty. I mean, there were days I would eat 2, even probably 3 pounds of tomatoes. Man, it was expensive. So if you're doing that, maybe consider cutting back, but otherwise tomatoes are probably not making up a large portion of your diet, whereas meat and cheese and milk and eggs typically are making up a large portion of Americans' diets, of people in the West of our diets.
Do you drink almond milk?
I drink plant-based milk.
You do. And do you eat avocados?
I eat a plant-based diet.
Do you eat avocados?
We're asking the government.
Do you eat avocados? Yes?
A leading study from...
Do you? It's an interview. You don't just answer different questions.
Oh, I can't. This is so painful. Yeah, you have to just answer.
Do you eat avocados?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Do you know how avocados and almonds get made?
Absolutely.
You do.
Yes.
So you realise that in California, every year, for 6 weeks, they fly in billions of bees to create your almonds and avocados. And in that process, several billion bees get murdered. This is a bee.
Can I say that
It's total hypocrisy, isn't it? You don't care about bees being murdered?
Will you let me speak, Piers?
Huh?
Will you let me speak?
Why are you laughing? It's not funny.
I'd like to respond.
Bees getting slaughtered and you giggling away like it doesn't matter.
Again, who watches this? God, it's so obnoxious. Clearly, she's not laughing about the bees. She's laughing about what he's doing. It's really hard to respond to people like this. To give her credit, she is staying really calm. I don't understand how you do that. How do you not just say, shut up? Just shut up. Bees are used to pollinate lots and lots and lots of crops. It's an issue of what we can actually do. If you look at the definition of veganism, it's what we can actually do. It is impossible to avoid all animal destruction as a person living on the planet. There are going to be things that involve animal exploitation. For instance, there are plenty of medications that include things like lactose in them. We have to eat. And so, yeah, we're going to end up eating plants that have been pollinated by bees that have been bred in order to do that. There also are degrees of sentience. I personally value a cow's life, a chicken's life, a lot more than I do a bee's life. It's not even clear if bees are sentient, whereas we know that cows and chickens and turkeys and pigs and whatnot are sentient. And just like with the vegan isn't healthy comment, he doesn't really care about the bees either. He doesn't care about this issue because if he did, then you could say, well, do you realize that you're also harming the bees with the foods you eat, not just the plant foods that you eat, but the animal products as well? Because what do those animals eat? Those animals eat plants, and at least some of those plants are going to be pollinated using commercially bred bees. So if you really care about the bees, then it makes a lot more sense to go the efficient route and to just eat the plants directly rather than hurting the cows and the chickens and the pigs and the bees. It's about doing the best you can.
Destroying buildings because you care so much about animals. You don't care about the little guys. Do you?
I'm laughing because I'd like to answer your question. I've been brought on the show to answer your question, so I'd really appreciate being allowed to answer.
You're never going to persuade me because I think you're a hypocrite, like a lot of vegans I've met. You can all be as hangry as you like and not have meat. I don't believe in the science of a strictly vegan diet. If vegan diets worked, a lot of animals wouldn't eat other animals.
Oh, God. If vegan diets worked, then a lot of animals wouldn't eat other animals. You realize a lot of male animals rape their female counterparts. How can we expect human males not to rape when other animals can't seem to get past it? It's so stupid. I am better than an animal. I am smarter. I am more compassionate because I have the ability to be so. It's incredibly weak-minded to say, well, animals can't do it, so I can't either. I don't think he's really thinking that through. Again, I think he's just trying to throw things out. He just has no interest in veganism because he doesn't want to give up meat. That's really what it comes down to. He just doesn't want to stop eating meat, and so he'll say anything as a way to justify that and make it sound like veganism is wrong, actually, instead of, yeah, veganism might be good, but I don't want to do it. Or again, even just eating less animals. Like, no. Just doesn't want to do it.
Do you believe in the climate crisis?
Yes.
Well, the animal agriculture, farming and fishing is a leading cause of the climate crisis.
You know what's also a leading cause of climate crisis? Planes which carry vast amounts of your avocados and your almonds from California and fly them thousands of miles to your table here in your vegan cafes.
If he knew anything about food transportation, he would know that the vast majority of food is not transported via air. Most of it is transported via boat, which is quite effective, quite efficient. Transporting food by air emits around 50 times as much greenhouse gases as transporting the same amount by sea. Foods which are air freighted tend to be those which are highly perishable. This means they need to be eaten soon after they've been harvested. In this case, transport by boat is too slow, leaving air travel is the only feasible option. Some fruit and vegetables tend to fall into this category. Asparagus, green beans, and berries are common examples of air freighted goods. So again, important to ask these questions if you're trying to optimize your environmental impact, if you're interested in that. Maybe you would want to avoid asparagus and green beans and berries or eat less of them. I mean, we're already typically not eating a lot of those foods. Again, it's the quantity that matters. We're not getting our calories from asparagus and green beans and berries.
You're destroying the planet and you're killing billions of bees. I don't get it.
Can I respond?
And you're wrecking Big Ben.
Can I respond?
And Trafalgar Square. And you're breaking up Harrods.
I hear that you're very frustrated.
It's like talking to a child. Sweetie, I can tell the video game is really upsetting you. Let's just take a break, calm down, have a snack. To be clear, I do not speak to my children that way. It's very condescending.
Is a bee an animal?
It surpasses. I'm not finished, sorry. It surpasses.
Actually, Ola, is a bee an animal?
It surpasses.
Is a bee an animal?
Piers, can I...
Is a bee an animal?
She's done.
Is one of these things an animal?
Of course, a bee is an animal.
If a bee's an animal, why are you slaughtering them?
Why are you not talking about the most important issue that is facing our planet
Because it's
today?
rank hypocrisy.
It is
isn't
not
it?
hypocrisy.
I meet so many vegans
study from
who devour avocados and almonds and don't seem to realise it involves the slaughter of billions of bees.
Both almonds and avocados are less damaging to the planet.
Oh, they're less damaging. And what?
She finally said it. It's less damaging. Much less.
Across
Still less.
Europe.
That study in Oxford, that is exactly what it is
the
about.
planet.
No.
Anyway, look, I'm starving, and you're not going to persuade me. And my response to you destroying all these.
All right, I don't need to. Excuse me. I don't need to see that part. Well, I can finally say I've watched some of Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan uncensored. Isn't he always uncensored? Isn't this like his shtick that he just says whatever he wants and it's what we're all thinking type of thing? It's just insufferable. I think she did the best job she could. Again, I would like more of a discussion around her tactics and why she thinks that's actually effective. But the whole thing got derailed by him, clearly, and she wasn't very effective at answering it. She tried to just avoid it, which just makes people, well, let's see the comments. Never before have I been 1,000,000% with Piers Morgan on his views, but this was awesome. She wants to talk about climate change, but doesn't mention the destruction of the planet caused by mining for materials to build electric vehicles. Oh my goodness. Piers is an unbearable bellend, but this was absolutely hilarious. So even people who don't like them thought this was great. Cool. But yeah, I wish she had said immediately that it's not as destructive and we're focused on the big things when talking about almonds and avocados and traveling by air and whatnot. But the problem is she doesn't really have a leg to stand on when the introduction is you vandalize buildings. She is immediately going to be seen as an extremist because she is. I mean, most vegan activists are not doing that and do not condone that style of activism. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to know your thoughts on this. If you think Piers Morgan is an unbearable bellend, or if you think he had some good points, he did not. Anyway, thank you again. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff from me. Hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload. Thank you so much to all of my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do upload 2 exclusive videos there a month for $5 plus patrons. And that's it. Thank you so much, guys. New video soon. Oh, I meant to check for hairs. Oh, I don't have any hairs. Okay, cool. The postpartum hair loss. It started. This is my artwork. I hope you like it. Actually, it kind of is my artwork. 3-year-old wanted a cat. They wanted specifically 4 legs. So I kind of put it in the middle. I don't know. And then they colored it. This is a ghost or a jellyfish or something? I'm not sure. But I told them I'd put it by my desk downstairs. And then I realized I don't really have another place for them. So here you go. Maybe I'll add more.